Welcome back to the deep dive. Looks like we're diving into film and TV today.
Always exciting.
Yeah, you've sent over some news from January 27th, 2025. Hot off the presses from Sundance and beyond. Big announcements, trends, maybe even a little behind-the-scenes drama.
Sounds like the usual mix, a good snapshot of where the industry is at.
Exactly. And to help us break it all down, I've brought in an expert, you, to help us understand what it all really means.
Happy to help.
So let's jump right in. This whole generative documentary thing, that really caught my eye. This Eno documentary, right? It used AI to make a different version of the film for every single screening. And it made over $1 million. What do you make of that?
Well, first off, on a purely technical level, think about the logistics. Distributing that many versions of a film, making sure each theater gets the right one, it must have been incredibly complex. But partnering with Art House Convergence, that was smart. 74 cinemas. It gave them that network of independent theaters ready to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just about getting the film out there, right? It kind of changes how we even think about what a film is.
Absolutely. It challenges the whole idea of a film as, a finished product. If everyone sees a different version, is it still the filmmaker's vision? Or is the audience kind of co-creating it now?
Whoa, that's getting deep.
Mm.
But for indie filmmakers especially, this could be a game changer. Imagine tailoring your film to different audiences, building hype, maybe even cutting out those traditional distributors altogether.
Lots of potential there. But it makes you wonder about access. Will filmmakers with, limited budgets be able to use this tech too? Or will it just widen the gap between them and the big studios?
Yeah, good point. Okay, switching gears a bit. Something else that jumped out at me from these articles, it's how much streaming platforms are leaning on licensed content. One article said that acquired content used to make up, get this, over 70% of viewing on HBO.
Wow, that's huge.
Right. It makes you wonder, are all these shiny new shows really what's keeping people subscribed?
It's a tricky balance for these platforms. They need to grab attention with big new releases, but they also need that deep library of familiar favorites to keep people coming back for more. Haven't you ever just scrolled through endless options and ended up rewatching a comfort show for the 100th time?
Oh, totally guilty of that. It's like digital comfort food.
Speaking of comfort, Sundance is often seen as the home of indie cinema, but it seems like it's become a place for big industry conversations as well.
Definitely. It's evolved into this platform where everyone, filmmakers, studio heads, even the audience, they're all grappling with that's shaping the future of storytelling.
Totally. And this year, those conversations seem to be revolving around two things: artificial intelligence and how authorship is changing.
You nailed it. From Glenn Close expressing her worries about her digital image being recreated to the controversy swirling around that Go Back to Where You Came From series, Sundance is mirroring the big debates happening across the whole industry. Let's start with AI. Glenn Close, she said, and I'm quoting here, "I don't want my image or voice to be reconstructed." That really gets to the heart of people's anxieties, doesn't it?
For sure. As AI gets more advanced, actors and creatives, they're understandably worried about losing control over their own image, their likeness. This raises all sorts of legal and ethical questions about ownership, consent, the potential for misuse, you name it.
It is kind of creepy, isn't it? To think someone could just use your face or voice however they want, especially for things you might not agree with. And this goes way beyond actors, right?
Right.
Writers, musicians, even visual artists, they could be affected as AI gets better at, copying human creativity.
It's a legitimate concern for anyone in a creative field, really.
Got
The
it.
tech is developing so fast that our laws and ethics are struggling to keep up.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Now that Go Back to Where You Came From series, that's causing a stir. And it touches on another big theme coming on Sundance, how reality TV tackles complex social issues.
It does. Reality TV has a long history of, let's just say exploiting sensitive topics for entertainment. This particular series, sending people back to the countries they emigrated from, it makes you ask, can reality TV actually build empathy and understanding? Or does it just reinforce harmful stereotypes?
Yeah, it's a tough line to walk. And it ties into this bigger conversation about representation and responsible storytelling.
Couldn't agree more. As the media landscape keeps splintering, it's more crucial than ever for filmmakers, for anyone creating content, to approach these issues thoughtfully, with nuance, and a genuine commitment to diverse perspectives.
Well said. Now, this whole Napalm Girl photo story, it plays into that too, doesn't it? Turns out the photographer who's been credited with that iconic picture maybe didn't actually take it.
Really makes you think, Who owns an image that's become so ingrained in our collective memory, especially in a world where images can be so easily manipulated and
It
shared?
blurs the lines, right, between documentation and artistic interpretation.
Exactly. And it gets even more complicated when you throw AI into the mix. Like, if an algorithm creates a piece of art or music, who owns the copyright? The programmer, the user.
Tough questions. And Sundance seems to be right at the center of these debates.
It speaks to their commitment to not just showing films, but sparking conversations about the future of the industry.
Which makes it even more interesting that there are rumors about Sundance possibly moving.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that drama, let's take a look at some of the most talked about projects that premiered this year.
Always love discovering new voices and perspectives, especially those that challenge conventions and push the boundaries of what a story can be.
Me too. And it seems like Sundance is full of them, like Atropia, this film about these super strange military training camps in Nevada. They have mock towns, fog machines. They even use Glade scents to recreate the smells of battle.
Ah, blurring the lines between reality and simulation, something we've already talked about with AI.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes you think, what does it do to your mind being immersed in those fake environments?
Atropia seems to be tapping into a very real anxiety about what's real and what's fake. Truth versus fabrication.
Lots to unpack there. Now, Brides sounds like it takes a different approach to tackling complex issues. It's about two Muslim schoolgirls who end up in Syria, but it doesn't sensationalize their journey.
I like that. It's refreshing to see a film that focuses on the human story over the geopolitical context.
Right. It's about their struggles, their humanity, their friendship.
It speaks to that growing need for nuanced portrayals of marginalized communities, letting them be seen in all their complexity, not just as stereotypes.
Okay, and then there's The Ugly Stepsister, a feminist body horror take on Cinderella. I love this quote from the director. There's only one Cinderella, the rest of us are ugly stepsisters struggling to fit the shoe.
Provocative. It really challenges our ideas about beauty and what society expects of us.
Sounds like Sundance has something for everyone, from deeply personal stories to films that tackle big political issues.
It's a reminder of what film can do, not just entertain, but challenge us, make us think, and help us see the world in new ways.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's shift gears and talk about the business side of things. There are a few interesting moves happening behind the scenes that could have big implications for the industry.
The business of show business is just as captivating as the creative side. Often, it reveals those hidden forces that shape what we see on screen.
Exactly. First up, Tiger Aspect. They're going all in on comedy, doubling down on the success of shows like Man Like Mobeen and Bad Education.
Smart move in such a crowded market. Specialization helps production companies build a strong brand, attract top talent, and streamline their whole development process.
Makes sense. Then there's Netflix. They're continuing to snag YouTube talent. This time is this Rachel, the educational content star.
Clearly, Netflix is diversifying its offerings. They see the value in established online personalities who already have big fan bases. It's blurring the lines between traditional media and online content creation.
And documentaries are still hot. The Reality of Hope just got acquired by an AI film studio.
There it is again, the growing influence of AI in entertainment. We talked about its impact on creativity, but it's also shaking up traditional financing and distribution models.
AI is everywhere. Okay, let's take a break right there. When we come back, we'll dive into some of the other intriguing projects that premiered at Sundance, explore the rumors about the festival's potential relocation, and offer our final thoughts on what all this means for the future of film and TV.
Sounds good.
We're back and ready for more Sundance. We've already talked about AI, streaming, and authorship, but you've got a whole stack of news here. There's got to be more to unpack.
Oh yeah, Sundance is always packed with interesting stuff. From smaller, character-driven films to big documentaries, there's something for everyone.
Okay, lay it on me. What else caught your attention?
Well, there's Jimpa. It stars Olivia Colman, and it sounds really sweet. It's about a woman reconnecting with her father in Amsterdam. Dealing with their differences, but with humor and heart.
I read about that one. It's based on the director's own experiences with their non-binary child, which is so great to see. It brings those important LGBTQ plus stories to the forefront.
I'm always drawn to films that come from a personal place,
Me too. Those stories, those lived experiences, they just resonate on a different level. Now, shifting gears a bit, there's a documentary called The Perfect Neighbor. It takes a look at stand your ground laws through a really tragic case in Florida.
Heavy stuff. But it's a timely topic for sure, given all the debate around gun violence and self-defense in the U.S.
It is, and it shows how documentaries can really shine a light on these complex issues, start important conversations.
Absolutely. Okay, this next one sounds, well, a little different. It's called Dead Lover, and it's about a grave digger who falls in love with a corpse.
Ooh, that's a dark one. Maybe a darkly comedic exploration of loneliness and grief. Sundance is always known for pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah.
Challenging audiences. Yeah, and this one's playing in the midnight section, so it probably leans into the horror vibe a bit too. Now, for something completely different, there's a documentary about Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Her leadership during those tough times, the Christchurch shootings, the pandemic, it was truly remarkable. She was like this beacon of empathy and strength on the world stage.
It seems like this documentary is tracing her whole journey, from rising star to global icon. That'd be fascinating.
It reminds us that film can give us these glimpses into the lives of extraordinary people, and it helps put historical events into context, maybe even inspires future generations.
Love that. Okay, I gotta say, some of these film titles are pretty wild. Bubble and Squeak, what do you think that's about? Apparently it's a comedy about a couple's super strange honeymoon.
Haha, gotta love a good quirky comedy. They can be such a fun escape. But the best ones always have something to say about relationships, about human nature.
Right. Then there's Train Dreams with Joel Edgerton. Based on a novella, I think. It follows this laborer over several decades in the American West during a time of huge change.
Ooh, a character study against a historical backdrop could be really powerful, exploring themes of resilience, transformation, the human spirit.
And lastly, there's Sly Lives. Another documentary, this one from Questlove, about the musician Sly Stone. I loved his previous doc, Summer of Soul.
Summer of Soul was phenomenal, unearthing that lost piece of musical history. I have high hopes for Sly Lives. Questlove just has this way of weaving music, history, and social commentary together. It's both entertaining and insightful.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of films, from heartwarming dramas to quirky comedies to thought-provoking documentaries. But there's one big story we haven't touched on yet, and that's the rumors about Sundance potentially moving to Boulder, Colorado.
Ah, yeah, the future of the festival is up in the air. Park City's been its home for so long, but there are definitely challenges that come with hosting such a massive event in a mountain town.
Like what?
Well, space is a big one. As the festival has grown, it's become harder to find enough venues for screenings, panels, and all the other events. Plus, trying to accommodate thousands of people in a town with limited infrastructure, it's tough. Accommodation prices have gone through the roof, which makes it harder for independent filmmakers and film buffs to attend. And let's not forget the environmental impact of having such a large gathering in a delicate ecosystem.
So Boulder might be a more sustainable and accessible option.
Possibly. It's got a thriving arts and culture scene, and it's closer to a major airport, which makes travel easier for everyone.
Makes sense. But I'm guessing there are arguments against moving too.
Oh, absolutely. Those who oppose the move, they emphasize the history, Sundance and Park City, they're intertwined, that mountain town vibe, it's part of the festival's identity. Moving to a city, they say, it could lose that special something. And of course, there's the economic impact on Park City to consider. They've benefited from hosting Sundance for years.
Yeah, not an easy decision. It seems like Sundance is at a crossroads, trying to figure out how to grow and adapt while staying true to its roots.
It is, and it mirrors the bigger challenges the whole film industry is facing. Adapting to new technology, balancing artistic vision with making money, staying relevant in a world where everyone's streaming everything. These are questions everyone's wrestling with.
It's a time of big change, that's for sure. It's both unsettling and exciting to think about what might come next.
I agree. The future of film is being written as we speak. And events like Sundance give us a peek into what that future might hold. New ways of telling stories, mind-blowing technology, a growing emphasis on diverse voices. There's so much creativity and energy out there.
It's inspiring, for sure. Well, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to thank you for all your insights. You've really helped me, and hopefully our listeners, understand this whirlwind of industry news.
You're very welcome. I always enjoy these conversations.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to stay curious, keep exploring, and maybe even check out some of these films at a festival or on a streaming service near you.
Happy watching.
Until next time, keep diving. We're back for one last look at Sundance, and one thing that really stood out to me? They shut down Main Street to cars this year. Made it totally pedestrian friendly.
Yeah, bold move, right?
Yeah.
Turning the heart of the festival into this big pedestrian plaza.
Definitely makes a statement.
Some people love it. They say it adds to the atmosphere, makes it more, intimate, walkable. But others, they're worried about the logistics, especially for anyone with, mobility issues.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Between creating a unique vibe, but making sure everyone can participate.
For sure. And then there's that elephant in the room that talk about Sundance, maybe moving to Boulder. We touched on it earlier, but it deserves a deeper look.
Yeah, let's dig into that. What are the arguments for and against packing up and heading to Colorado?
Well, those who are pro-move, they talk about Boulder's art scene. It's vibrant, right? Plus, it's close to a major airport, much easier for travel. And they say Boulder could just offer a more sustainable, spacious environment for a festival this size.
Okay, I can see that. So less cramped, better for the environment, easier to get to. What about the other side? Why are some people so against the move?
Well, they say Park City is Sundance's home. It's been there for decades, That mountain town charm, they argue, it's part of what makes the festival unique. Moving to a city, they say, it could lose that magic. And of course, there's the economic impact on Park City to consider.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
Right.
Sundance is kind of at a crossroads, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out its identity, how to grow, how to be sustainable.
Exactly. And it reflects the bigger picture, what the whole film industry is dealing with, adapting to new tech, staying true to artistic vision while, also making money, how to stay relevant when everyone's storing everything. Big questions.
It feels like a turning point. We're right in the middle of this big shift, this transformation. It's a little scary, but also kind of exciting to think about what's coming next.
I agree. The future of film is being written right now. And events like Sundance, they give us a glimpse of what that future might look like. Innovative storytelling, groundbreaking tech, more diverse voices. There's a lot to be hopeful about.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap up this Sundance deep dive, I want to thank you for all your insights. You really helped connect all the dots.
Glad to be here. Always enjoy these conversations.
And to our listeners, stay curious, keep exploring, and maybe check out some of these films yourself.
Happy watching.
Until next time, happy diving.